5 move-up homes that Minnesota homebuyers should avoid. Minnesota homebuyers are buying the wrong homes unknowingly. They're not paying for it now, but they are paying for it over the years. These are the homes that look great on paper, but over time, they're going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. In this video, we're going to talk about which homes to avoid when making your move-up purchase. And stick around to the end. We're going to reveal the #1 home that move-up buyers overpay for in Minnesota. They consistently overpay for this type of home, thinking it's a good move, but our data tells us otherwise. I was recently talking to a buyer who did a move-up purchase on their own. They didn't want a realtor, they wanted to handle everything by themselves. They felt confident that they didn't need the expert advice of a residential realtor. On the surface, everything looked smooth. They found the home, they negotiated the price, and they got their offer accepted. A few months in, costs started adding up for things that they did not expect. When it came time to renew the insurance, their insurance price had been greatly increased over the first few months. They didn't take into consideration the condition of the home, doing the age of the home, and the roof condition. The HVAC system that looked fine during the walkthrough had started to show its age. They were slapped with an assessment that the seller did not disclose, and property taxes took a major increase. When they told me about their situation, I knew immediately what had happened. They didn't do anything wrong, and nothing out of the ordinary had happened. It's just the type of home that they bought had a predictable set of costs that, had they known what to look for, they could have expected these increases over time. That is the conversation they needed to have before making the offer. This video is that conversation. I'm Aaron Zenfenig with Titan Real Estate Group, and I help home buyers across Minnesota make important decisions about the largest asset in their lives. All right, here's the thing, guys. When you're moving up, you're making your second purchase, selling your first home, buying your next home, you usually have quite a bit more options. And that's because the competition isn't nearly as fierce for a move-up home as it is for that first-time homebuyer home. But with more options, that means that more things can go wrong. So now let's talk about the 5 different homes to avoid when making your move-up purchase. Number 5, homes with aging roofs. Minnesota is in the hail corridor. It is one of the most active hail corridors in the entire country. Across the entire Twin Cities metro, there are multiple hail incidents every year. 3 weeks ago, in the middle of June, we had almost golf ball size hails come across the Twin Cities. And with those hailstorms, insurance prices follow up, that is. They follow up. And that's something that a lot of buyers do not take into consideration when thinking about their monthly budget for buying a home. If the roof is 10 years or older, it's a significant insurance problem just waiting to happen. Many insurance carriers will not even write a policy on a home that has a roof over the age of 10 years. And if they do, there's going to be significant price increases. Once the roof hits 12 years old, you can see an increase of premium by about 40%. And most likely, that 40% jump, the roof was not priced into the purchase agreement. Before you make any offer on a home, make sure you take a look at the roof and not only the age, but also what type of shingle is on that roof. If that roof is less than 5 years old and they have an impact-resistant shingle, that can significantly lower your interest payments each month. Price the roof before you price the home. All right, number 4 type of home to avoid is the over-improved home in the under-improved neighborhood. You never want to be the nicest house in the neighborhood. This is one of the most common traps that home buyers face today. They get wowed by all the fancy things. The new kitchen, the quartz countertops, tile backsplash, the shiny lights, all that cosmetic stuff that looks great on the surface. And those things are great to have. But after a certain point, your home can only be worth so much. If you keep dumping money into improving the home, but no one else in your neighborhood is, the appraised value of a home is defined by the last 6 months of homes within about a mile or 2 radius of your home. So even though your home might be beautiful and you have $1 million worth of renovations in it, if none of your neighbors have done those things, you'll never be able to sell your home and it will never be able to appraise for the amount of upgrades that you have put into it. You never want to be the biggest and the nicest home of the entire block. That's also something to consider when making improvements on your own home, is really making sure that you don't overbuild your home, so to speak. And that's where coming in, talking to a realtor about which improvements to make, even if you're not thinking about selling your home anytime soon, talking with an expert about what actually adds value to your home is going to definitely help you make those decisions. And then it also allows you, if you do want to do some of those things, make sure that you understand that you're doing it for yourself and you're not doing it for the purchase price. It's not an investment, right? It's an investment in your happiness, not an investment in your wallet. You're much better off actually buying a home that needs to be completely remodeled for a great price and then getting your equity by doing some of the work yourself or hiring the work out at a reasonable cost, and then you'll actually build equity into your home. Personally, I would never buy a home that was remodeled. I would always want to take on a home that was completely trash and then remodel it myself. Not only do you get to earn equity into the home, you also get to make the home exactly what you want, which is perfect. Number 3 home to avoid is the new construction with excessive upgrades. A lot of people do not realize when you see that new construction price, that is at the bare minimum. That is the worst countertop, the worst light fixtures, everything bare minimum. And in that model home that you're walking through, everything is the very top. So see how whenever you see a new construction neighborhood, it says starting at $499.99? That is the base price. Then you add upgrades like a finished basement, a yard. Something basic as a yard sometimes does not come with new construction. Decks often do not come with new construction. You want the nice countertop that actually matches your style and that matches the paint colors. You want the nicer light fixtures. Guess what? Upgrade, 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 upgrade. Eventually, you're adding $100,000 to the place. You also don't realize the things that don't come with the new construction, like blinds, window treatments. All those things instantly have to be coming out of your pocket. And all of those upgrades, we run into the same problem that we were just talking about with the over upgraded home. Just like any upgraded home, a new construction is also going to be an over upgraded home, right? And you can definitely run into appraisal problems where you're going to have to actually bring cash out of pocket at closing to cover those costs. So if you are going to go with new construction, make sure you're talking to your own representative. A lot of people think that they can walk into those open houses at new construction. They sign on with the builder's rep and that they're going to get a better deal. That is just not the case. You need to have a separate, unbiased representation, someone who has your best interest in mind, not the builder's best interest in mind. You can also talk to that expert about which upgrades are going to be worth it in the end. And again, that's where you have to make the decision is the upgrade worth it for your own personal enjoyment, or is it worth it in a monetary investment standpoint? A lot of times the builder will also charge a premium for these upgrades. So when you are making those decisions on the upgrades, make sure you're doing structural things like adding egress windows in the basement, even if you're not finishing it, framing it out a certain way to make sure that you can easily make an extra bedroom down the road. Things like that, the structural things that are really expensive and really hard to change down the road, whereas those cosmetic things you can actually do yourself for much cheaper than what the builder's going to charge you. The number 2 home to avoid when making your move-up purchase is the large square footage home in the suburbs. It comes in at number 2 because it is one of the largest traps that you can get into. It sounds like a great deal, right? You get twice the square footage for half the price. If you're in the Edina, Minnetonka, Plymouth, Maple Grove area, you're looking at a 3,000 square foot home. It's going to cost you $700,000-$800,000, right? If you go 45 minutes west, you're going to get the same type of home, but instead of $800,000, you're looking at $500,000. Sounds great. Same size home, $300,000 less, right? However, there are a lot of costs that on the back end that you do not think about when making those purchases. Sometimes it's better to buy a smaller home closer to where you need to be compared to a larger home farther away. Some of the costs that people don't think about are going to be your insurance. Larger homes, more insurance. It's going to be your taxes. Usually the larger homes are taxed a little bit higher. Things like commute time, right? Oh, that commute on a Saturday when you drove out to see the home, it's only about a 30-minute drive. Well, now it's rush hour at 8 a.m. in the morning. That 30 minutes is now 50 minutes. Same when you're heading back home. So instead of an hour commute, you're actually looking at about a 2-hour commute. And that's when the roads are in good condition. This is Minnesota. Roads do not stay in good condition very long. About half of the year, you're going to be driving through a snowstorm as well. So now that 2-hour commute in the summer is going to be about a 3-hour commute in the winter. And that's a lot of time that you're spending on the road, more time that you could be spending with your family. People are always comparing that square footage, the dollar per square foot, dollar per square foot. You hear that all the time. And that is one of the most overused terms in real estate as kind of a basis and a way to analyze it a little bit. But you really have to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. And honestly, I don't really like the per square foot analyzed because it doesn't really take into any consideration location, condition, who the builder is, the quality of finishes, all that kind of stuff. Like per square foot pricing is just not a great way to look at things. There are way too many other factors that go into it to use just a per square footage pricing. And with that bigger home that you're buying, don't forget Your utilities are going to be a lot more. A home that's twice the size costs twice as much to heat in the summertime, in the wintertime, and twice as much to cool in the summertime. It's things like that that people don't think about. A larger yard, that means more sprinklers, more water in your sprinkler, larger water bill. Just those things add up. It could be hundreds of dollars every month that you're not prepared for. And now your house broke. You can't go on vacation. You can't go out to dinner at night. All you can do is go home and pay your bills. Another thing to consider is if you're moving out to the further away, it's going to take you longer, more likely, to sell your home when it comes time, right? Typically, the better school districts are closer into the cities, that kind of stuff. It's more desirable, easier to sell when you're in the first ring of suburbs compared to the second ring of suburbs, and so on and so forth. The farther out you get, the longer it's going to take you to sell your home. The longer it takes you to sell your home, the longer you're going to be holding your home, which means more holding costs, more likely that you're going to get an offer under asking price, just all those kind of things, right? It's better to get less square footage in the right location rather than more square footage in the wrong location. Real estate's all about location, 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 right? Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the number one type of home to avoid when making your move up. And that's going to be the deferred maintenance home. This is going to go back to kind of the lipstick on a pig that you always hear people talk about, right? So if you're looking to buy a home, looks beautiful on the outside. It's got new countertops, new cabinets, fresh paint, all that good stuff, right? However, the AC is 20 years old. The furnace is 25 years old. The roof is 30 years old. The siding's got holes in it. The windows have the gas in them and all the seals are cracked. All those major costs are going to bring the value of your home down significantly and cost you a ton of money out of pocket down the road. I see it all the time where my buyers they fall in love with the home aesthetics, where I go and I point out the age of the roof, the age of the windows, the siding condition, the furnace, the AC, all those big ticket items. That's what I'm looking for as your realtor, because I see it as more of an investment where you guys are more, the buyers are a lot of times more attached emotionally. I try to keep my emotions out of it and make sure that it's a sound investment for yourself. And that's where you really have to do a gut check and make sure that you're not paying top dollar for something that needs $40,000 within the next 2 years, right? Just because it looks pretty. In order to protect yourself from things like this, for any person buying a home, this is first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, downsizers, all that good stuff, it is very important to keep about a $5,000 to $10,000 buffer in your bank account for any unexpected maintenance, especially for homes that were built more than 30 years ago. A 30-year home is kind of like when a car hits 100,000 miles. It's kind of when all the maintenance starts to need to be getting done, right? When you're, I don't know, when I'm buying a car, I'll either buy a car at 50,000 or I'll buy a car at 150,000, right? That 100,000 is where I want to try to avoid. So that's kind of a 30-year home situation as well. All right, guys, that's it for today. If any of you are currently searching for your move-up home, drop it down in the comments. Let me know what problems you're facing. If you've already purchased your move-up home and you ran into any of these problems, please share your experience. I'd love to hear from you guys. I read all the comments, so I'll get back to all of you. Let me know. We'll see you there. Have a great day. Real Talk Real Estate, Titan Real Estate Group, treating you the way that we would want to be treated.